What is going on, guys, and welcome to this video. Now in this video we're going to be walking through my blood results, my findings, and my entire protocol. It's been a very long time since I ran a protocol myself, and this is actually the worst blood test I ever had. My testosterone is the lowest, my estrogen is the highest, and my cortisol is the highest as well. So we're going to be walking through everything and basically show you guys how we're going to fucking fix it. So, bit of background, symptom-wise, I feel good. I wake up typically wanting to sleep a little bit more, but 5 or 10 minutes after getting out of bed, I feel fine. I have no energy crashes, energy is good throughout the day, don't struggle with brain fog, sleep is fine. I work out about 3 to 5 days a week. I eat 90% clean. I go for walks after my meals. I get sunlight in the morning. I wear blue light blocking glasses. I've eliminated as many of the environmental toxins that I can. And overall, it's typically one of those cases where it's like, okay, I'm doing all of the right things. Why is my testosterone, my estrogen, and my cortisol so out of range? So that is why we've done the blood test. Well, we know it because of the blood test, obviously, but that's why doing a blood test is so important. So you actually find out what is happening within and what you can do. When it comes to symptoms, as I've already said, energy, etc. is all good. Libido is good. The only symptoms I sometimes have are gut issues. I sometimes have bloating of the meals. I sometimes have some gasiness symptoms. I've been working out a lot throughout my entire life, and typically, what you see with people that work out a lot is they tend to develop leaky gut or intestinal permeability, so that showed up for me as well. And I've also had a lot of antibiotics when I was a little kid. So, without further ado, let's dive right in. Connor, take it away.
Perfect. So we'll start off with your bloods. So at the top, we have the breakdown. We can see all your findings down here and your full blood test results. So yeah, starting off, 42% of your markers were in optimal range.
Fucking
80,
shit, bro.
86% were normal. And then, of course, 42% were too high and 16% were too low. So if we go through everything today, we're going to see why that was the case, how it relates to certain symptoms, habits, and just things you do on a day-to-day basis. And then at any point you want to jump in on questions, Jordy, you can ask away. So you can see some of the main focus, cortisol was very, very high. It was well above 500, quite high estrogen, high enough prolactin, and testosterone was suboptimal. Definitely signs of leaky gut based on symptoms you've mentioned to me in the past in the screening forms. Also, 5 out of 6 of the markers looking at intestinal permeability. So, yeah, we can tell there's definitely some sort of intestinal permeability we need to work on. It's definitely signs of inflammation. CRP was quite high. Nutrient deficiencies, folate was quite on the floor. So yeah, eating more liver is definitely going to help with that. Vitamin A, vitamin K as well. That was potentially low based on some correlations. Glucose was very low, but HbA1c was fine. So again, just a snapshot. You were fasted. There was other factors, so we can't really tell much off just one snapshot of glucose. Potential signs of dehydration. And then there was a lot of markers around parasites and also SIBO slightly, and some symptoms that you've mentioned to me in the past and in the screening forms. But yeah, there was a lot of markers related to parasites. So I think potentially would recommend doing a GI map, which I think could be good. And I know we spoke about that in the past. Doing a GI map would be really good to just dig a bit deeper into that in the future, a few months down the line, and if
Yeah.
it's needed based on symptoms.
Makes sense. Why do you think folate is low? Do you think that's purely like through diet, or do you think maybe leaky gut plays a role? Maybe stress? I don't fucking know if stress burns through folate. No fucking clue. What do you think it is there? Maybe
Yeah,
TTFD? I don't know.
yeah, I think it's a mix of everything, really. I think it's a mix of like, okay, yeah, there's obviously signs of leaky gut and your cortisol so high, so that's going to hinder your actual digestion overall with those two things and your nutrient absorption. And then as well, off the top of my head, I do think stress will increase folate demands. I'm not 100% sure, but just like the stress your body's under with high cortisol, with like what you put your body through in front of a laptop all day and BJJ and training in the gym, like it's just constantly go. So I would assume it's a multitude of factors of why it's low, and potentially TTFD as well, because I know that can increase the need for other B vitamins. And I don't think you've been eating liver the last while, have you?
Last time I added was like 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So that's probably why.
Okay.
But yeah, as you said yourself at the start, like you clearly perform well. You don't really have any symptoms at all, apart from digestive symptoms. Like libido's good, energy's good, no brain fog. You can still work long hours, all of these things. But then there is obviously these underlying factors. They obviously are at play, and long term, it will hinder things more and it will become more of a problem. But yeah, if we didn't fix it, it's gonna, like everything, it's gonna just progress and potentially get worse over time. So we don't want it to be the case, and that's what we always do for everyone. You don't want to just leave it to the last fucking minute. So that's why Jody done his bloods. That's why we're addressing it now. We're seeing what actually came back. So one of the biggest things in his bloods was his cortisol was extremely high. It was 529. Ideally you want it under like 285 or so. So it's nearly double. Again, during the day, not many symptoms, but when you wake up, you definitely sometimes feel flat and you don't feel awake for the first little bit of the day. But generally after that, you're fine. You also work probably too much in like normal standards, like yeah, 6, 7 days of the week, and like you don't have much downtime, like certain bad habits that come through and like after work, like scrolling, doing things like that, which is it's a common thing that's just your brain tries to shut itself down and get some dopamine after a long day of work. So yeah, and also you have a lot of caffeine, like a lot of caffeine. So and I know we have different opinions on that, but definitely a lot of caffeine in terms of where your cortisol is actually at. So yeah, it's
Yeah, that's
likely yeah, like it's likely coming from your cortisol levels of two things is like, yeah, the stress and the with the gut health, the gut is putting pressure on the cortisol levels, and then also coming from your actual just lifestyle and certain habits and not having enough downtime.
yeah. I
So,
think I think it's mainly because I don't give my body a chance to get the cortisol down because I'm working the entire day and then
mhm,
I mean evidently like I sometimes scroll before bed or I'll maybe watch some I mean currently I'm watching Peaky Blinders and that's also not very relaxing to watch. It's fun, but it's not it doesn't give your or it doesn't give my nervous system and my cortisol etc. a chance to drop back down. The only time it
yeah,
has to drop back down is sleep. And it's quite funny because now it kind of clicks as well talking about this since I mean I've worn the Aura Ring now for 2, 3 days again. I used to wear it like years ago, then I just stopped it. And what I see is my HRV is very low in the beginning and it's very high in the evening, like sometimes 120 to 150 milliseconds in the end, which is really good. Same with my resting heart rate. It's high in the beginning and towards the end it's like 45 beats per minute, which is really good as well. And I think that that is a sign that my nervous system isn't shutting off before bed. So that's why it's the HRV is creeping up and my resting heart rate is creeping down because it's starting to slow down throughout the night. But then when it comes to a stage where it's actually in the good range, my HRV and resting heart rate, I have like 3 hours of sleep left. Then I wake up. And maybe that's why I also wake up feeling like, oh fuck, I want to sleep a bit more. So it's starting to click. I think that that is could definitely be at play there as well.
yeah, no, 100%, 100%, because like it's obviously a big thing online. Everyone just says, "Oh, yeah, just work all hours God gives you, and just always should be working." But like having no downtime, it is going to affect your body. Like like I do it myself, not as much to the fact the way you do it, but like we tell clients to do it, and we don't practice what we preach sometimes with like downtime and shutting off from work. It does make a difference. Like it affects me. I notice a difference because I don't do it every night, but then like when I do and I don't have downtime, it definitely makes a big difference. So for sure, that makes sense. And then if we look at your hormone panel, so this again is definitely related to cortisol because cortisol that high is going to affect your testosterone levels. It is going to put pressure on it and it has an inverse relationship. So when that's higher, testosterone's naturally going to be lower because your body's more stressed out. So overall, like your free testosterone is still pretty decent, especially for the levels of your total testosterone at 21.4 nanomoles. So
Quickly, for the guys that operate in nanograms, that's about 620 nanograms per deciliter.
yeah, no, good show. Yeah, we always do nanomoles over here. So yeah, and then looking at estrogen as well. So again, like seeing it higher, still pretty high to have that 160. So there's a couple things we're getting Geordie to do for that to bring it down, which we'll look at a bit later on. His SHBG is good, which reflects because his free testosterone is in a decent range. It's pretty good for his levels. Prolactin a little high. We're getting him on a low dose of a certain supplement to bring this down, which we'll go over later. So yeah, again, because his free testosterone is pretty good, it's protecting the way he actually feels. Like he doesn't have low libido, he's no energy issues, no low strength, no poor drive, anything like that. But over time, like these things can be shunted more and these symptoms can manifest and become worse. So yeah, it's definitely something we want to work on now before that actually happens. So yeah, the biggest thing is going to be correcting the nutrient deficiencies, bringing cortisol down, improving his gut function and supporting estrogen clearance, lowering overall inflammation so these hormones can stabilize better in the body, estrogen can clear better. It's a positive thing because there was no real liver issues or liver dysfunction in Geordie's bloods, which is good because usually we see that alongside estrogen issues and people have problems with liver and that's why they have usually higher estrogen, higher SHBG. So that's definitely a positive. And then Geordie is going to be on a cut as well, so going to be improving body composition, cutting down some just excess body fat. Not that
Quickly
Geordie's
here,
obese or anything.
am I not obese? No, I wanted to add this into the start, but I forgot about it. Can you scroll back up to like the cortisol and the yeah, here, the hormones? Yeah, that's fine.
Mhm.
So when it comes to my physique, if I am allowed to speak about myself, I am in almost all areas of my body pretty lean. I have veins on my arms, I have bicep veins, you can see the vein on my chest, I have a vein on my trap if I'm working out, my legs, my back, it's all pretty lean. All the fat that I have is on my stomach. So I have bicep veins, I have trap veins, I don't have like a defined six pack. And that really makes a lot of sense if you look at the high cortisol and the high estrogen. So it also like really makes sense that my estrogen and my cortisol were so high if you just looked at that simple fact. Quickly wanted to add that in.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. And then, yeah, looking at then say the issues with his gut health. So again, ALP was on the lower end, monocytes was a little high, uric acid was high, ferritin was high, but only very slightly high, and MCH was low. So again, they weren't really extreme in terms of we've seen them a lot more out of range, but it still lines up with his symptoms and his gut isn't fully resilient. Like he has moderate bloating, he gets general bloating and sometimes some IBS-like symptoms, like some issues with say constipation or diarrhea. And then as well, like certain food sensitivities, which are mild. So again, no real severe symptoms, but it's definitely still a problem. We have 5 out of 6 markers. We do have symptoms, and like Jordy said, he was on antibiotics as a kid. He's been an athlete all his life. He's trained a lot, so like that also we see higher cases of leaky gut. So it is something to prioritize and still address regardless, because this can then lead into other issues we're seeing in bloods, like higher levels of cortisol, nutrient deficiencies, which we are seeing with the lower folate. And then also it's going to affect overall systemic inflammation in the body. We see his inflammation levels were on the higher end with like CRP. So again, not terrible. We've seen it again a lot higher with CRP. Ideally, we would want it under like 0.6, 0.55. Jordy's was 1.25. So yeah, it's not terrible, but still on the higher end. And some of these other markers are associated with inflammation in the body as well. And then when you have leaky gut, you'd expect to see more systemic inflammation. So it makes sense why CRP is higher. And this can affect his recovery and how he's actually feeling every single day. So likely he will start to feel better because his recovery will be better. Like for example, this isn't in the protocol, but his Aura Ring score was, I believe it was down when you sent it through. So like as we start to introduce these supplements and introduce these things to work on it, we expect his HRV and his Aura Ring to go up a lot higher as his recovery gets better.
Yeah, at least being more stable because it's like an upwards trend and a downwards trend throughout the night. Ideally, you just have it at a similar high baseline or low for. heart rate, but
Mm, yeah. Then looking at folate, so yeah, like we said at the start, it was very low. It's on the floor, like 5.8. Like we wanted at 15 to 25. So yeah, it's a lot lower than we want. So the easiest thing we're gonna do is because Jordy will eat liver, so we'll have him eat liver like twice a week. His iron levels weren't also too high or anything that it would be problematic to have liver in the diet. So yeah, having lamb's liver couple times a week, 100 to 150 grams. Like this is going to help get all the folate he needs in. If compliance was an issue, we would use methyl folate, but yeah, at the beginning, we're just going to use some liver. Then there was some potential signs of other deficiencies based on some correlations, like say potential vitamin K, and then also I believe calcium might have been on the lower end, but I'd
calcium
have
was 2.47. That was an optimal.
Oh,
It
never
showed
mind.
diff
Sodium also was on the lower end, but I know you and I know you hydrate well and you have salt in your diet, so it could have just likely been just the day that was in it weren't properly hydrated, so I wouldn't take that too much into consideration. Just continue the good hydration habits. So yeah, as I said before as well, like your glucose was very low, but it's just a snapshot. We can't base anything off one snapshot. Your HbA1c wasn't optimal. You are reporting certain things like say mild morning fatigue, moderate sugar cravings after meals, but this is more so related to gut health. Like I said at the start, parasites and SIBO, there is certain symptoms that would warrant further investigation down the line. Also, blood markers, there is some blood markers pointing towards it. Potentially would potentially make sense. Like Geordie's travel to like Bali, places like that, you can pick up parasites a lot easier. But parasites, people over demonize them as the worst thing in the world. Like your body will naturally deal with these things as you stabilize the terrain. So potentially we will do a GI map with Geordie and we'll see what that terrain actually looks like in more detail. What is microbiome? What is good bacteria? Is bad bacteria? And how we would need to rebalance that. But yeah, looking at kind of the loop and the pattern that's actually happening, because again, you do a lot of the good habits, like you said, you eat mostly pretty good, but the problem is there's a few upstream levers that are kind of causing this dysfunction, and it will progress worse over time. So you work too much with no downtime, with no real off from work. It's going to raise your cortisol, dependence on caffeine. That's going to reduce digestive function and hinder your recovery. You're not going to break down food as effectively. You're going to get nutrient deficiencies, which we're seeing with folate. That low grade dysfunction in the gut over time, it's going to become more problematic. Cortisol is going to be also still high, so that's going to increase inflammation in the body, and that's going to further impair things in the gut. Because of that inflammation, estrogen clearance is going to be worse as well. And again, that's going to suppress hormones because of the high cortisol and also the high estrogen. And then it just keeps going and going and going. So that's why we want to fix this loop that's happening and make sure we correct it. So yeah, Geordie's dashboard, it's completely built around him, his bloods, what he needs to do nutrition wise, supplementation, habits, etc. So anything you want to add or ask at the minute, Geordie?
No, no, it's all very clear. Do you want to go through those pages below as well, or do you want to go to the protocol? What do you think is going to be best? I'm fine with both, by the way. If you want to go through there, we can. Maybe show like one or two. It's up to you.
Yeah, I think maybe if we show one or two for the viewer, because obviously there's so much on each one.
Yeah, I would do
What?
leaky gut and maybe the hormones. What do you think?
Yeah, good
Okay.
shout.
Okay.
So yeah, if we start off with this one. So you can see everything's laid out for Geordie. Like, obviously, he built this as well, so he knows exactly what's there. But this is what we use with our clients, so you get to see exactly what's going on. You can see his testosterone was low, his prolactin was high, estrogen was high. And then if you scroll down, there's a video of us breaking this down. It's not loading in at the minute. You can see the actual levels of his blood markers around hormones. we can explain to you exactly, okay, well, what does it mean if your testosterone's low or if it's high, your estrogen's high or if it's low. And then you
Quick
can
pause here.
see,
Sorry, quick pause. Can you scroll up a little bit?
mhm.
This over here with the biomarkers explained, that is the case for all the blood findings. So when we start to go to leaky gut next, one of the markers, for example, is ALP. If you click on there, you will see an explanation of what ALP is, why low ALP is linked to leaky gut, the studies that back it up, etc. So as you can see throughout, you will start to get a very deep understanding of what is happening within your body and why you feel or act a certain way. So typically when you just go to the doctor or when you go to a lab or when you do whatever, all you get is like a sheet with your results and good luck, or you're normal, or there's nothing really going on. But one of the things that we really try to dial in, and I say try, but something we really fucking dialed in, is that you get an understanding of what's happening within. So even all of the findings and all of the biomarkers and what it means and the studies that back everything up are explained in these sections as well. So I quickly wanted to add that in, so you will walk away with a very detailed understanding.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then with Geordie's symptoms, so he didn't really have any, like he said at the start, no real symptoms. But if it's the case for, say, gut, leaky gut, and we go on to it next, you'll be able to see some of the symptoms that he actually has. And it's very insightful because if you're getting your bloods back from us and you're seeing it and you're seeing, okay, I have X, Y, and Z issue, you'll actually see where your symptoms are coming from. So you can see, oh shit, okay, that's why I'm getting such bad bloating. That's why I have brain fog. That's why I have low libido, low drive, etc. But for Geordie, nothing really here. Like excessive fat was weak, losing weight was weak. And then, yeah, the way this is laid out, and it's like this for all the blood findings, like the one for leaky gut too, which we'll look at next. It explains exactly what it is, and then it goes in some common root causes, how to actually address it. The biggest thing is what we actually build for you around your nutrition, your supplements, your lifestyle with the habits, elimination list, and your training as well. This is all tailored for you from your actual blood findings. This is just a really in-depth breakdown of basically everything you want to avoid, everything you want to do. It goes into great detail for every single one. So if you want that extra layer of detail, you can get it. So again, just summaries at the start, and then it goes really in depth into testosterone, estrogen, SHBG, everything. So it keeps going and going, and it goes over everything, so you can really learn to that level of detail if you would like.
Yeah, so if that on the page is basically, as Connor said, a detailed breakdown of that particular blood finding, and your protocol is the highest ROI points for all the blood findings.
Mhm. Looking at leaky gut, so again, you can see Jordy had 5 out of 6 of the markers. You can see his markers, what was high, what was low. Again, like he said, we break down every single biomarker and every single blood work finding for you. So all of them are explained because a lot of people might not actually realize how these are related to leaky gut. So it explains that to you.
Click on ALP quickly and just scroll through it just so they have a view of it.
Yeah, so for ALP, again, you can see everything. There is some studies explaining how when the levels are outside, it can indicate leaky gut.
So yeah, that's basically for all the markers in there as well, just so you have a view of that.
And then, yeah, so you can see in terms of symptoms, mild bloating, brain fog was only weak, not really present, sensitivity to environmental chemicals. So there's not much. But I do know you said in this call as well, bloating is more of an issue at times. So maybe this isn't fully reflective, maybe it is. But yeah, what do you think, Jordy?
It's mainly after meals. So if you would click on SIBO, you would see it. But I do have bloating after meals, not after every meal, and it has already reduced the past 2 days since I've been watching and sending all my nutrition through. But it is there. It is there sometimes. The bloating, sometimes a little bit of the gas, depending on the food. So yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. And yeah, like especially because this is something me and Jordy were speaking about, you don't really if you eat clean, you don't really realize what the problem with your nutrition is unless you actually track it. Because like I used to always hate tracking calories and macros, and I used to think it was fucking stupid, which for the large portion of people it is because they don't focus on the quality of their nutrition, they just focus on the macros. But the problem with we see with a lot of clients and myself, and I've seen it with Geordie, is if you eat a really high quality diet, people will end up overeating certain things that they shouldn't. Like they'll chronically undereating carbs and they'll chronically overeat fats. And it's what I've done in the past myself. It's what Geordie was doing when we actually broke down his diet.
What
And
I'm
that's
still
not,
doing right now.
he's still doing it right now and we're trying to change it. So again, like if you're an athlete, if you're training a lot, if your cortisol is high, if you're stressed, if your thyroid is at a range, which Geordie's wasn't, thankfully, you don't want to do this. You don't want to have a high fat diet. You don't want to have a low carb diet. It's not good. Keto can be therapeutic, but in Geordie's case, definitely not. So just by tracking his nutrition, because he's eating good, he's eating clean, we can see that his macro split wasn't optimal, and we want to remedy that, and we want to change it, and it will also help him drop body fat. So yeah, it's definitely beneficial to understand the split that you're actually eating.
Yeah, and that was the thing as well, because we all think, oh, animal-based is the best. At least that's what I think. I know Connor for a big part as well. So I was eating a lot of animal-based products, but what ends up happening is I eat a lot of protein, I eat a lot of fat, and I'm eating carbs as well, but just not to the extent that my body really needs. So that was the issue, and I mean, today it's still present. Um, Trying to fix that because I'm getting aware of it by tracking everything and by doing the blood test and by now being a client of my own company, which is a lot of fun. But that is something to be wary of. So even though you're eating all of the right things, you're eating eggs, you're eating raw milk, you're eating X, Y, and Z, you can still be eating suboptimally because you're missing, in my case, a sufficient amount of carbs.
Yeah, and it's different for everyone. Like we see people eating that animal-based diet and they're eating way too much red meat because their iron's way too high, their liver's fucked. So then they need to cut that out. They need to have more fish. They need to balance it out more. So yeah, there is also problems with every kind of diet. You really need to go that one layer deeper to understand it and understand based on your body. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I reckon just scroll through here because otherwise this recording is going to be like 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
So for everything, you will see root causes, you will see what it means, you will see what to avoid and what to embrace. That's basically the short breakdown of every single blood finding that you will be able to see here. But yeah, let's go to the protocol.
Yeah, so if we start off with the daily habit tracker, so up at the top, this is basically so we can see what level people are at with their consistency. They'll have a little badge on their dashboard. So in terms of
Let
a
me
habit
quickly touch
tracker,
on this if you don't mind. Click on the old one. So we're doing a new test with me because I'm now a client of my own company. I'm starting to see certain gaps in the dashboard. So I've already seen some things in the screening form we need to change. And I've changed something for the habit tracker for me so I can test out if I like it. If so, we can test it with clients. If they like it as well, it will be standard too. But just scroll through here slowly. As you can see here, it's just big habits. Then it is elimination list. Go a bit quicker, please. And then below that is the supplement. So it's broken down into three different things. But there are morning, afternoon, and evening things all throughout those three tables. So you need to be scrolling through, scrolling back and forth, scrolling up and down. So yeah, you can go to the new one now. The test we're going to be doing for me to see if I like it is it's all in one thing from morning all the way to the night. So I can just scroll down and tick things off as I'm going throughout the day instead of needing to go back and forth between everything. Now you might see all of this and you might think, fuck, that is a lot. I see 51 things. Fair. A lot of things are duplicated. So some things, like let's say walk after a meal, I have 3 meals a day. It's in there 3 different times. So it's not that I have a protocol with 51 different action points. For example, NAC twice a day, so it's there in there twice as well. For me, I don't get overwhelmed with this. It's very easy for me to just see it and check things off. Of course, everybody's different. That's why we're going to be testing it. But yeah, let's go through the protocol. Um, and let's also showcase what happens when they click on open on a certain action item. Let's go through both. So as you can see here, it's the habit tracker. But one of the most important things when it comes to consistency is not just knowing what to do, but also knowing why to do it. So every single supplement, every single nutrition change, every single daily habit, every single thing that we tell you to cut out is explained and tied back to your symptoms and also to your blood findings. So you get a full understanding of, okay, why am I doing this? So it's very easy to be consistent. So if you can click on the lymph brushing one as an example and scroll down, you can see exactly how to do it and what all the benefits are. So you get a full understanding of why the fuck am I fucking lymph brushing? Because for some people it might be a little bit woo-woo. It's not woo-woo at all. But click on the breakfast as well underneath and scroll down. It's all explained. Everything is explained. Why do I need to do certain things? Why is this important for me, etc. And yeah, let's dissect the protocol now.
So as you can see here, this is the full protocol laid out for Geordie's full day. So again, waking up at the same time every day, critical for circadian rhythm, critical for cortisol levels. Water with some Malden sea salts, going to be very important for hydration first thing in the morning. His levels of sodium was a little low, so we want to make sure we have salt still in the diet and also in his hydration. Lymph brushing, again, because his immune system was okay, but his inflammation levels was higher. So yeah, we want to do this for bringing down inflammation levels. Having breakfast within 60 minutes after waking because his cortisol levels were through the roof. We want to bring that down. We want to make sure he's stabilizing and fueling his body first thing. Good digestive practices. So a lot of people fall into this bad category of eating where they eat too fast, they don't eat slow enough, and Geordie is one of them. I'm one of it by nature myself. So that's why we want to make sure he's focusing on that. It's going to reduce his bloating, it's going to improve his digestion. Walking after meals, simple. It's going to improve his digestion, it's going to reduce bloating. Natural light, so want to get that straight away when waking up within the first 60 minutes. So Geordie eats his breakfast outside. Again, no energy drinks, nothing like that. Max one coffee because Jordy was slamming coffees all day, so we don't want to do too much. Have coffee after breakfast, especially because it will reduce your digestion if you're having it straight away after food. Raw carrot on empty stomach, that's going to bring down his estrogen levels along with white button mushrooms. They can both reduce estrogen levels. More aged cheese, such as pecorino cheese. So this is going to be very high in vitamin K2. And then no drinking around meals. Again, that's going to dilute down his digestion, chewing his foods properly. You can see a lot of these are repeated because you're doing it multiple times a day. No gluten, unless it's sourdough, because again, it will irritate the lining of the gut. More oysters, amazing for testosterone zinc levels. It's going to be really, really nutrient dense. More seafood. He wasn't eating enough seafood. This is going to support his inflammation levels. Walking more. Jordy works a sedentary job. He doesn't really walk. He doesn't get enough steps in every day. He's trying to cut weight as well. So we want him moving more. We want him getting more steps in. Working outside for at least an hour. Again, when he can, working outside, getting full spectrum light, getting light in your skin. It's going to be critical for overall health. No drinking around meals, again, diluting digestion. No alcohol. Jordy didn't really drink anyways. No having massive meals too close to bed. Having kiwis, again, it's going to support his cortisol levels overnight. It's going to help with his actual sleep quality as well. So that's why that is there. And then the NSDR is to help him have downtime, relax and unwind after the workday. So NSDR is a really effective form of meditation. It's really good. We've gotten really good results with it with many clients. So yeah, it's a very effective thing for him to actually include to wind down and trying to stay off the screens an hour before bed, no scrolling, reading more, praying before bed, getting enough sleep, and going to bed at the same time every single day. So yeah, anything you want to add, Jordy?
No, that's all.
Okay.
Bro, you went through it so quick and so robotic, bro. Bro didn't even take a second to breathe.
Yeah, because if I was going through that slow, it would have been like 10 minutes. I think that was fine. Do you want me
Yeah,
to go
no,
back
yeah, yeah,
to
we'll leave it in, but that's why I was laughing. No
fair?
scrolling before bed.
Now we will look at Geordie's supplements. So yeah, Geordie was taking like a lot of different supplements over the years. He's taken way more supplements than I've ever even tried. So yeah, basically what we've done with this protocol was take some supplements he already has in his house, get some new ones, but then just put it together to what's going to be effective instead of just like randomly taking different supplements. And it's what we see a lot of clients of ours who come in and what they do, they have every supplement under the sun. They randomly take some for a while and they stop, but they don't structure it in a way that it all comes together nicely. So that's what we done with Geordie's protocol. So yeah, he was already taking TTFD. We left that in for him. We done it 5 days a week, 2 days off, which is like a typical cycle. And it's because he noticed it. It's like something he actually notices. He doesn't notice a lot of supplements. And then we included magnesium, L-theanine, and then also Shilajit as well. And then all the other supplements he has. Some of them are in here, some of them are new. But yeah, basically the way we lay this out is we tell our clients, okay, what is the supplement? What's the purpose based on their blood findings? What's the actual benefits for them based on their symptoms, their major goals, when they should actually take it, what the dosage should be, if they need to cycle it. And then there's also usually a link for each supplement. But the reason why some of these aren't linked for Geordie is because he already has it. So, for example, you can see for his very high estrogen, we have calcium D-glucarate recommended there. Also, for his prolactin, which was a little elevated, we have relatively lower dose P5P every 2 days at 25 milligrams. And then we have other things for gut health, like Terra Nordic Rescue, which has zinc L-carnosine, glutamine, collagen, and then there's just some food-based stuff like the liver that we mentioned. We want to have him having that more for his very low folate, and then more focusing on hydration as well, making sure he's drinking enough, he's properly hydrated. So yeah, all his supplements are layered throughout this. So any questions from you, Jordy? Anything you want to add?
Um, no, I mean the questions I had we kind of already discussed off camera, of course.
Hmm.
Um, I do want to add something here. Some of you guys might or maybe not look at this and think, dang, that's a lot, or dang, that's expensive, or whatever. Supplements are the cherry on top of the cake. They are the icing. They're not the foundation. They are to add to it. And we also take somebody's financial situation into consideration when making a protocol. So if somebody comes to us very well off, it's all the money in the world, we will create a supplement protocol that is more expensive because, I mean, it is, in the end of the day, it is slightly better. If we work with somebody that's less well off, we take that into consideration as well. Now, in total, this supplement protocol is gonna run me about 250 euros for the 3 months. I already had more than half of them, of course, but we can do it on a budget. We can make it very expensive. The craziest we've ever done was like, I don't know, 500 per month for a 3 month protocol, like the absolute craziest one we've ever had. Like, but he was absolutely fucking loaded.
Yeah.
So, just so you guys know, supplements, cherry on top of the cake, personalized based on blood results, goals, symptoms, but also your finances. So yeah, I quickly wanted to add that in.
Yeah, no, good shout. Forgot to mention that. So yeah, if we look at nutrition now, so there's three sections here. And again, nutrition is always a work in progress. We're always refining people's nutrition. We're always trying to improve it. And then we do this based on how they actually respond to the food, to the structure. If we need to take anything out, change the meals. If they're struggling with consistency, we'll give more structure, things like that. So it's always a work in progress. So that's why we have the meal plan section, which we can add recipes, we can add more structure, and we can give them overall shopping list. And then with say the nutrition based on their blood findings. So if we come in here, we'll see all of Geordie's blood findings. And what happens is if he opens one of this, you'll see, okay, yeah, leaky gut. It says what is the most effective foods to consume if you have leaky gut. It goes over what foods are bad for leaky gut as well down the bottom. So it does this for all the blood findings. It covers absolutely everything. So you know what is most effective based on each blood finding. But again, we build a lot of this into the nutrition recommendations we give you and what's going to work best for you in terms of your blood findings, but also consistency and what you can sustain every single day. So if we look at Geordie's nutrition protocol. So he's already doing it because we've give this to him a couple of days ago, but he's sending me his meals. I'm giving him feedback in live time. That's why we've already seen that he's still eating too much fat. he's already starting to track his nutrition, and we're like, okay, yeah, he's nearly having more fats than he is carbs, so we need to fix this because we want him like, yeah, on a bit of a deficit. We'll adjust these numbers based on how it actually changes his body composition. But yeah, we're giving feedback in real time, and we do this for all of our clients. So we give them some general guidelines as well that everyone should be following to actually get the most out of your digestion. We add things in and take things out based on every single client. So for him, we want to make sure he's not training fasted ever, and we want to make sure he's chewing his foods properly, different things like that. He's already doing some good things, so you can see, good job. He's having breakfast. He's not drinking coffee on an empty stomach. A lot of people they come to us, they're always skipping breakfast 3 to 4 hours, and then they're having coffee on an empty stomach. So Jordy's not doing that. That is good. His breakfast, again, it's not bad, but it's also not great because he takes TTFD in the morning, and TTFD is carb dominant, so it will require carbs to actually uptake and run effectively. So his breakfast is quite low in carbs and quite high in fats. So what we basically done with his current diet is like adding cottage cheese, adding stuff that's a bit lower in fats first thing in the morning and a lot more carbs because he's not having enough carbs. It's also summertime as well, so you get more sun exposure, your body can handle carbs better. There's more things that are in season. So again, it was just giving him more structure, like say cottage cheese, raw honey, and a banana, or some organic blueberries, or this smoothie, which is giving him more carbs and more structure to his nutrition, instead of just the yogurt. So yeah, looking at Jordy's lunch. So what I've noticed from seeing his lunches in real time the last few days as well, before everything's fully finalized and put into place, was he's not enough carbs in his lunch. The carbs are way too low. So this is something we're working on. Also having more fish in the diet, which he's been quite good at the last few days since I mentioned it to him. Getting more quality fish in. He's had some oysters. That's going to be amazing for reducing his high estrogen levels and increasing his testosterone levels. Again, having some raw carrots, some button mushrooms, that's going to help bring down his estrogen levels as well. And then it's also about him sending through the meals, us finding what's working for him telling us, okay, yeah, I feel a bit bloated if I eat this kind of meal. And then we realize, okay, yeah, let's structure a bit different. Let's not do that. So he's listening to his body, I'm listening to his feedback, and then we're tweaking it from there. The same thing is true with his dinner. So we're seeing, okay, after tracking for a couple of days, his fats where they should be, his carbs a lot higher where they should be, and then also how he's reacting to certain meals, certain foods, and then if we need to tweak his dinner, tweak his meals in any ways so he doesn't potentially react to it. Also, snacking, I want to basically cut this out completely, especially anyone with leaky gut, anyone with any sort of gut dysfunction. You don't want to be snacking, like, because when you snack, you turn off the migrating motor complex, which is a process that allows your gut to start to replenish itself. So if you're just eating every single hour, every hour and a half, your body never gets time to fully like clear itself and like cleanse itself. So that's why you don't really want to snack. Like, yeah, one a day is fine, but you want to have big gaps in between your meals. That's not true for everyone. Like, if someone has genuine blood sugar issues, diabetic, pre-diabetic, things like that, these recommendations change. But for Geordie, who doesn't struggle with any symptoms, yeah, his blood glucose was low. That was likely just other factors at play. So we don't want to have him snacking the whole time.
Yeah, it
Um,
was first time it's been low. Every other time was in optimal. I've never seen it this weird. So I'm not gonna treat it as a as an issue unless it happens with the next blood test too. But for now, I'm kind of just ignoring the low glucose, I'll be honest.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I would agree with him because it's an abnormality that doesn't match up with his actual symptoms and him as a person. Like, he's not a fat like 50-year-old man, like, so he's probably shouldn't have said that, but you know. And then yeah,
We're leaving
looking
that in, bro.
and then looking at the actual drinks he consumes. So like overall, again, it's not bad. He has noticed some things though. He's I don't know if he says it in here, but he said it earlier that he bloats sometimes when he has fruit juices after meals. So we want to make sure we don't mix things like that. Also make sure he's not reacting to pasteurized milk if he is getting it.
100%.
Yeah, so again, that's good. We want to cut out things like, say, occasional white monsters, because yeah, it's great for energy. It's not great for gut health. Jordy has mentioned he does feel bloated when he would have a white monster, so we want to cut that out. Make sure we reduce that. Alcohol don't he doesn't really have in the first place, so it's not going to be really a problem, but just want to avoid it anyways. And
Quick
then
one here.
yeah,
Here, scroll down. So the reason that the fruit juices after meals is an issue is because fruit juices typically digest in 30 minutes, 60 minutes, while if you have a heavy meal, it can take like 2, 3 hours. Let's say you eat a lot of steak, it can take a lot longer. So what happens if you first eat a heavy meal and then you consume fruit juice is the fruit juice will stay on top of the heavy meal. It cannot digest quickly and therefore the sugars inside the fruit will start to ferment and that's when SIBO or gas or those type of things become a problem. So I don't do this a lot anymore. I have had some issues with this, especially after a very tough BJJ session. I've had days where I just drank like a liter of fruit juice when I get home because I was so fucking thirsty and I didn't want to eat a heavy meal that I then got some loose stools and some gut issues as well. But I've learned from that, cut that out. Sometimes I do still have some fruit juice, but then it's like 3, 4 sips in all. Like realistically, it's 3 to 4 sips. But that's the mechanism there why you want to avoid things like fruit and fruit juices, at least in large volumes after meals.
yeah, 100%. So yeah, the last section for Jordy would be the workout section. So for Jordy, he's training, what is it, 3 times a week now, BJJ with a double session?
Depends. I'm training like between 3 and 5 sessions, typically 3 or 4.
Mm.
But that
Certified
includes
blue
double
belt, by the
sessions.
way. Yeah.
Certified blue belt, exactly. Two stripes as well on the blue belt. So
Sorry, I
yeah,
forgot to add that.
yeah,
Yeah,
no
no.
problem, man. Put some
That's
respect on it.
so yeah, because he trains a lot, obviously with BJJ, we don't want him in the gym 4, 5, definitely not 6 days a week. So for him, it'll be potentially 2 days a week, depending on his actual schedule with BJJ. So the way this is designed for him is just more of a general warm up to get everything moving, get the blood flowing. But then when we're looking at the actual main session, 99% of the exercises here, they're all tailored to actually help with his sports performance. Fuck you laughing at?
At the last two. The notes at the last two.
Oh, right, yeah. Forgot I added that. But yeah, 98% is actually tailored towards his sports performance. So you can see, for example, feet on the bench and doing an alternated dumbbell press, like having your feet on the bench will replicate when somebody is on top of you on mount a lot more than when you have your feet on the ground. So you're taking out the leg drive, you're focusing more with your arms. And then as well, we have different things to work on his actual mobility as well, because Jordy typically has not great hip mobility. So this is a pretty good routine to do. And there's things added here throughout that's actually going to work on his mobility as well. So there's a really good exercise that we have in here that's going to work on his entire shoulder girdle and improving his shoulder mobility. And then we have other things to work on sports performance like searcher squats and this landmine complex. So these are really, really good rotational exercises that are going to help with his rotational power, which is very important in most sports, especially BJJ too. So yeah, all of this is tailored for him based on his actual needs in his sport and also his goals. So we have more exercises aimed around chest, so he'd have more volume because he's only doing it 2 times a week. He'll have about 14 sets per chest per week, which is a lot more than any other muscle group because he wants to work on his chest gains a lot more. So we always take these things into consideration. Again, he can track it here himself, everything, his reps, his sets, but we always tell people if you like, you can track it on a notebook and you can send it over to us, just whatever's easiest for you.
All right, and then I think the last one, let's just also show the education library just very briefly.
Yeah. So if we look at the education platform, so again, this is just like a nice bonus that everyone gets. It's a lot of time has went into this over the years. Like we basically are slowly uploading our brain into like an education platform. So you get to see loads of different resources, things that we've learned the hard way, and then also things that are just going to help you get the fastest results in certain areas. This is why we call it the SOP library, because it's going to take out the guesswork. It's going to give you the pure implementation for certain things. So you'll see for the SOP library, you can see different things like around mindset, cutting weight, bulking. Again, this is taken care of in your protocol, but if in future you want to do it by yourself, we have sickness protocols, fasting protocols, caffeine, recovery, stress, toxin reduction. There's so many different things that we have here. And then we have like an education platform with just different general topics, nutrition, performance, and then all the modules. There's quite a lot. So all of these go very, very in depth in different things. And yeah, anything you'd want to add here, Jordy?
Yeah, so the SOP, I mean, the SOP is a standard operating procedure, is just quick wins. Because if you join, it typically takes about 2 weeks to get the blood test done, get the results back, get it analyzed, etc. And hop on a call, sometimes a little bit longer even in some cases. Netherlands slow as fuck. Takes 1.5 weeks to get the results at all. Compared to Ireland's like 2 or 3 days, UK is like 2 days, etc., which is how it should be. But this is just quick wins. You join, you get some stuff you can implement straight away, you get some stuff you can learn from straight away. That's why this is here. Then before we end this up, let's also quickly show or touch on the weekly check-in, and then I think, yeah, then I think we're gonna be done.
Hmm. So yeah, the last thing to mention would be the weekly check-in. So yeah, like we said before, we're treating Jordy as a client. So I'll be doing all the weekly check-ins, reviewing all his weekly check-ins. We'll go over things. He's sending me his meals. So that's why it's very important that he does the weekly check-ins every single week. So he's going to see obviously what week he's in. He's going to come in here and we're assessing this with all our clients every single week. Their weight, so we know if we need to actually adjust his calories, his macros, his output, health data. So he's wearing his Whoop, so we can fill in the HRV and breathing rate, sleep quality, all these different metrics. Looking at energy, stress, sleep, gut health, mental performance, physical performance, testosterone, and then some last questions. So all of these sections, if we go into energy, for example, the way it would work was we have certain questions that we ask. He's going to fill in on a score of 1 to 10. So 10 would be amazing, 1 would be terrible. He's going to see his previous score from the previous week, which he can't right now because it's week 1. So he'll see, okay, well, last week I answered an 888. This week I feel like a 999, or I feel like an 888 again. So you can actually see what you've answered, and then we put in the average down the bottom, and then you can add any context that might be needed to add. And then the last questions, again, it gives you time to sit back, review the week, give us more context so we can help you out more.
Yeah, exactly. And this takes about, it looks like a lot. It is very in depth. Takes 10 minutes a week, the way we've created it, maybe 15 minutes at most. But it is
Yeah.
simply a crucial aspect. And throughout the weekly check-ins, you will also start to see graphs of how you're feeling, how you're performing, and how everything is going upwards and going into the right direction. Alright guys, so those were my blood findings, the protocol, and what you would get if you were to become a client. Now, if you're interested to get your own bloods done, get your own protocol, and potentially work with us, there's going to be a link in the description with an application form and a way to schedule a call with us. From there, we can map out your situation, see if we can help you out, and walk you through what it is like to work together, the details regarding finances, the blood test, and everything in between. Now, we have standard labs in the US, the UK, Ireland, the Netherlands, Germany, the UAE, and Australia. We also have clients in other countries like Spain, like Greece, even India as well. So if you're in other countries, it is possible to work with you too, but then there will be some things to figure out when it comes to the blood test because it's very different in those countries compared to the countries we already have active for where we have active partners already in. So yeah, we have worked with people in other countries, also Brazil as an example, but that is basically it. Go to the link in the description, fill out the application form, schedule a call, and we'll speak very soon.